Welcome to the 2021 Economic Depression and Preparation Channel. I'm your host, Tony. Thank you so much for joining me on this Wednesday, May 12th, 2021. So much going on in our world, from people in North Carolina and down south fighting over gas at these stations, to conflict around the world between Israel and the Palestinians, and conflict in Africa and Chad, and the ongoing conflicts all over the world, including the Asia Pacific region. Inflation is rising, food is getting scarce, money is getting tighter and tighter as the inflation fears come up. And a matter of fact, today CNBC reports that inflation spook stocks. The Dow Jones would drop more than 600 points today on fears that the Fed is wrong, that the price spike is temporary. Well, this is something that we've been preaching to you all along on this channel the last 5 or 6 months, that the inflation will not be temporary, but it's here to stay, and that's going to be followed by mega deflation, that just like Japan, and that nobody's going to have money to buy these goods, even if they drop the prices once the depression is getting into full swing. So we're into the second inning of this collapse, and markets were braced for a hot consumer inflation report, but nowhere near the 4.2% headline increase reported in April. This is just for starters. We're heading to a 1970 style inflationary measures where inflation can top 12%, maybe possibly as high as 14%. Fed Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell says that he doesn't know what he's going to do at the moment. He's going to continue to let it run hot. But if the Fed is incorrect, that means that it could begin to unwind these easier policies quicker than expectedly and ultimately raise interest rates. Listen, if they raise interest rates from 0 to 2%, this housing market, the credit market, the stock market, and everything is in jeopardy. And the markets know it. Consumers know it. The rest of the world knows it. And so this is what we're looking at heading into the summer months. And as you know, the Labor Day holiday is coming up. And regardless of this cyber attack, they're saying that Colonial Pipeline is saying they'll have it back online, everything back online by Friday. They said today that they've started to put it back online, and etc. Regardless if it was intentional or not, we need to be prepared, ladies and gentlemen, because things like this is going to happen. Black Swan event is going to happen, whether it's in utilities, whether it's in the crypto market, the gold and silver market, or the stock market. As you can see here, Dow tumbles 680 points, worst decline since January, as inflation runs hot, spooks investors. Inflation will continue to run hot through summer months, June, July, August, September, and possibly even throughout the rest of the year. So that's why I was saying that the Federal Reserve Bank is going to raise interest rates possibly as soon as October of this year, 2021. It may even be sooner, depending on how high this inflation gets. But if you look at the charts here, the stocks took a big nosedive, probably 2% down on the S&P 500 and NASDAQ Composite. Inflation accelerated at its fastest pace since 2008, and consumers are already squeezed, because remember, the consumer price index does not include food and energy prices, which me and you have already known. We've gone to these stores every week. The food is going up. Airplane fare has gone up tremendously for those of you buying tickets in the summer or beyond. 4 months in advance, tickets are still high in a lot of these cities. No matter what the airline, energy prices has gone up, food, utility, lumber. So we're seeing the consumer prices rise, and some would argue that there is not inflation. We're going to be under a deflation. Well, that's coming later. That's after the collapse. Okay. So we're going to be in a hyperinflation there, and this is why you need to have your survival kit ready. 10 essential pieces of urban survival gear. Many of you have already have this, possibly more. You need to be 1 to 2 years prepared for this, because the initial shock factor is going to be like, wow. And we haven't gotten there yet, but it's coming. Every day we're getting closer. So urban survival kit, you need to at least make sure you have a flashlights in your house, first aid kit, several of them for your kids and your family. Folding knife, that's, pretty much, well, if you don't, have other, types of brass and things, that does help in your kit for usefulness for different things. A cord, paracord, great for urban survival. Drinking water is crucial, guys. Make sure you stock up on drinking water. because, or you can get a Berkey filter, or you can get a Brita water filter installed on your tap water things, because that's going to be the next crucial piece going into this after this summer, and the next crucial thing that's going to be ration. Remember, in the Great Depression, they gave everybody bread tickets and food tickets and things of that nature. They're going to give people water tickets, or restricting how many cases of water you can get at these grocery stores. And that's going to be coming up very, very soon. So you don't want to go to places like Costco and Sam's and everything like that and have to only be limited to 1 case of water for the week. So make sure you stock up on cases of water. I get the 6-gallon. Sometimes I get the Deer Park 6-gallon jugs and boxes. I just stack up 3 or 4 of those, or possibly more, depending on your situation. And just keep a cache of drinking water. You're gonna need it because you may need it for cooking and for your car or anything. So definitely keep that. A lighter. These are cheap to find. Obviously, the dollar store, you can get a bunch of big lighters or whatever in one of your pockets. Those are those long lighters that you use to light up candles. A small emergency radio, crank radios, weather radios, life-saving. $20 on Amazon. Very vital to get updates, because it may come to a point where the internet may go down too in certain parts of the country, whether it's a supposed cyber attack or anything. Everything is digital now, but if the internet goes down, hey, we need to know what's going on. We need to know what area, or a ham radio if you're into that. I know the ham radio community is big. Small pry bar, it may not necessarily be viable. I would change that and say get a small axe, like a small hyper axe that you can use to chop wood, that you can use to chop and bolt cutters, metal bolt cutters, small pair. You can get it at Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware, any of those stores. Small bolt cutters, those are very crucial, because when they start putting up fencing or different things you may need to get out of your area or get out of your home, bolt cutters come extremely in handy. Mobile phone, obviously a no-brainer. A prepaid mobile phone if you can afford it. Satellite mobile phone that works anywhere, because if these towers go down, if a natural disaster or EMP, you might want to have a satellite phone, but those are more expensive, I know. Cash, obviously. Your credit cards and debit cards won't work, and this is going to happen extremely quickly. You go to ATM, you can't get any money out, or they limit you to $50 to $100. That won't be enough to get out of town if something goes down really serious. So you want to keep some cold hard cash somewhere, even though it'll still be worth something, even though obviously in the hyperinflation it won't be worth that much, but you still need to have cash on your hands, because somebody's going to take it, but they may be able to trade it for some type of real tangible good that you may need, like rope or a tent or something that you may need, that you and your family may need. So I thought that was an interesting list to get you started. It's never too late to start, my friends. 10 simple items that you need for urban survival in most of these cities. And if you're already in the rural areas, you already know what to do. You're already starting growing your food and doing those things. So because we're heading toward this idea of the world in 2030, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what we're heading toward. Mega trends to watch. The ultimate top 1% want people in the cities. As you can see, the demographics is switching. We're going to have 8.5 billion people in the world by 2030, and food is going to be scarce. You notice the crops that I was visiting these farms out in the Midwest. The crops that they have are not yielding as much. The soil is not yielding as much corn, soybeans, wheat, tomatoes, strawberries. The crop is not as productive as it used to be in the past, and that's because of the population increase. The soil has been wrecked by floods and all kind of things. 2/3 of us live in cities, and that's why urban survival tactics is going to be crucial for those of you who choose to remain in a urban, heavily city environment. Transparency, everything is going to be less private. We're moving to a digital economy, and that means that more information will be readily available, but at the same time, that information is going to be, and that money is going to be open to all, so everyone's going to see what we purchase, and that's what's going to make our purchase must count now, because when hyperinflation hits and then deflation, we're not going to have time to be able to adjust to the new digital currency or whatever the case may be, whether it's the digital Chinese yuan that's going to be backed by gold that a lot of people are talking about, or whether it's a new American currency that's coming out to replace this dying dollar that everybody can see is dying. Now, the climate change, like I said, we can have a hurricane, a natural disaster by 2030 that can knock out communication systems, that can knock out your house or your livelihood. So it's important to prepare always. And a lot of people have been saying, this is just a temporary thing, but they just said right here, inflation price spike is not temporary. The Fed hinting that the Fed could be wrong, then they are wrong, because this is going to be lasting through the remainder of this year, and inflation could hit as high as 12%. That's my prediction right here. Investors are worried about inflation data, but economists see it as a sign of temporary growth. You can't have growth and inflation in the same timeline. That's an oxymoron. That's oxymoronic. That's contradictory information. So if we have inflation, instead of that, you'll see places like Walmart instead of rolling back prices, they're going to be rolling up prices to help pay for the demand, because they sell a lot of cheap Chinese goods too as well. And so they're going to be rolling up prices instead of like this lady rolling back prices. She's going to be rolling up the price of Dow, and that's going to really put the squeeze on American households, whether you're in the Midwest, the West, the East, the Northeast, or the South. And so we have to be prepared, because remember, President Biden hasn't even passed the other two bills that he wants to get through. As you can see here, personal consumption expenditures increase. President Biden wants to pass the families bill to give everybody children $500 a month or something, and then he wants to pass the infrastructure bill, which is another $3 to $4 trillion. So imagine that much money floating around. We could see inflation hitting 12% by the end of the year. Next month, inflation totals after June could be at 8%, double what it is right now. And so we already know that the top 1% are going to make the money back this week, coming the end of the month for Memorial Day. So don't be surprised if we see gas prices hit $3.50 a gallon or $4 a gallon in many parts of the country, not just notorious places like Southern California and stuff like that, and Chicago and stuff like that. Gas prices possibly could hit $3.50 to $4 a gallon this summer. Don't be surprised if we see that, because they're going to be the rich folks are making back their money while they can from the shutdown. And they know that hyperinflation is coming, and that everybody's squeezing blood from a turnip, squeezing everything from the turnip as most they can. Another thing to watch out for is, in terms of black swans with this stock market, is the crypto market as well. The crypto market could be tumbling just as fast as the stock market. So while I advise people to, if you're in the cryptos, stay in it, hodl, but don't put your whole life savings into it, because it's still subject to the regulations of the government. Silver and gold is at least tangible. You have a better chance of protecting yourself against inflation with that, even though you won't see heavy gains in that, because that's manipulated, as you know. So the items that you want to do is concentrate on these survival gear items, tangible items that you can trade with your neighbors and your community, because that's where the real value is going to come. When somebody needs water, when they need food, well, what can you do for me? Quid pro quo. Politics is based on quid pro quo. That means this for that. You give me something, I give you something, and this is what the economy of the local people is going to be based on. Just like what happened in Venezuela, what happened in Turkey, what happened in Greece. So many collapsed economies around the world, and so this is what we have to look out for. So I just wanted to make you aware of that, ladies and gentlemen. Be prepared, stay prepared. Every day research ways that you and your family can come up with a plan to continue to refine your plan, because we're just in the second inning. This could last, this next depression, many economists are saying this next depression could last 12 years or more, and we haven't gotten to the collapse yet. The bubble hasn't burst yet. This is the good times. This is the good times, believe it or not. The bad times come when the government admits that we're in a depression, and that food shortages and water shortages and money shortages basically is going to be hidden, and that's when people are really going to be concerned, when they can't have freedom to go about to do things they want, and it becomes more of the United States socialist country of America, or something, socialist states, or something to that effect. So take care, my friends. Continue to be blessed. Thank you for listening, and if you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them down below. I read them all, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much.